So I went upstairs, got on top of her, and moved her panties to the side. That easy. Story time of how I was 15 years old and I slept with a 34-year-old woman. A lot of it is a blur, but this was my neighbor. She moved in. I believe I helped her take some things upstairs. I lived on the second floor. She lived on the third floor. My stepfather owned the building. Nice looking lady, but immediately when she moved in, lines were blurred. Looking back on everything, I was a predator to the predators. I was a young dude, 13, 14, 15, 16. I put myself in older women's way, meaning if there was an older woman around, I would press her. You know what I'm saying? When I was 12, I was hunching on a 17-year-old. When I was 13, I was hunching on an 18-year-old. So dealing with older girls was not foreign to me. So as soon as she moved in, I started throwing darts already, you know what I mean? And at no time did she say, hey, that's inappropriate, use a little boy. When I found out her age, I said a slick comment back, like, you know, just young shit, you know, being in the hood. And, you know, she would be out in front of the building with her partners, and they'd be drinking and smoking, other older women. And I would have this very flirty banter back and forth with them. And their reply to me is, boy, we is too old for you. You can't handle this. See, when you reply shit like that, instead of just checking somebody, you're going to keep going, right? Because you're not actually drawing a line in the sand saying, yo, I am your OG. You's a young man, you's a young person. Yo, we don't talk to each other like that. We don't do each other like that. I'm here to look out for you. You little bro. You like you could be my son. There was none of that. It was, you can't handle this, and boy, I'll break you in half, all that shit, right? So this carried on for a minute. One day, I went upstairs, knocked on the door. She was like, boy, what you want? And I was like, let me come in. What you doing? Nothing. She like, nothing. I'm sleeping. So she had on these like tight biker shorts, something like that, right? So she laid on the bed, and it's ill because as a young person, the way that you see if somebody is rocking with you, you do these little testers. So I laid down with her on the bed. I put my leg on her. She didn't do nothing. Then I act like I yawned, and I had my arm on her. She didn't do anything. When she didn't do anything, I put my arm, like I act like my arm mistakenly went on top of her titty. She didn't do nothing. She just laying there. All right. So I just took a shot, and I got on top of her. Did I have a condom? Yeah, I had a condom because I kept condoms. I'm 15, I kept condoms. She's 34, so I kept condom. So I put a condom on, and the biker shorts, the way they were, I slid them to the side. And when I slid them to the side, I went to the left side. I slid left, and her panties went with it. And I put it in, and she wrapped her arms around me. She didn't say anything. You know what I mean? She put like a towel like over her mouth or something like that, something where I couldn't kind of see her face or whatever. And when this was happening, I didn't feel like a child. Right? And I didn't see myself as a kid, so it didn't feel wrong. What it felt like was a trophy. It felt like a trophy. So I finished and got up and just left. And shit hit the fan. I told my friends. One of my friends told her daughter, who was like 17. So it just, you know, it didn't go too far, but it was like, you told people. That was the only problem she had, is that I told people. It took me a while to even see myself as a victim, right? And when I think about it, when I was 16, I was dealing with my Job Corps counselor. She was 28, right? And we had sexual contact. She was 28. And it took me a while to see myself as a victim because y'all say it now, that the male is not a prize. Especially when you put black on it, especially when you put poverty on it. So when you don't see yourself as a prize, you don't see yourself as a victim. A victim can never be a prize. The reason why women many times can see themselves as a victim is because we tell them that they are a prize. Well, if they are a prize, then what am I? Then it doesn't matter what happens to me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. I won't even know if I'm being abused, right? I won't even know how to process pain or if somebody is violating me, because no one has built me up and told me that I have value and that I matter, right? So then you put my gender on it, then you put my skin tone on it, then you put my economic background on it. It's like, this is par for the course. We are here to be used. So I always looked at closeness and intimacy from a sexual way. And the women that came in my life that were older never told me that wasn't the right way. I oftentimes hear, people on these apps, the way they discuss the differences between men and women. And I'm sorry, I got a different POV. Everything women on these apps say about men, I've experienced from women, right? Neither is righteous by nature, but they both have the potential to be, men and women. Both have to do the shadow work. Both have a journey of being on this planet that you have to figure out, and you have to rise above your body. There is a challenge that women have to do being in the female body of personal development. Same with the male. We are in these meat suits that are coded, pre-coded, and wired a certain type of way. The male is not the only one that has to do the work. I know what it's like when women don't do the work. That has shaped the course of my life. Never was I protected, right? Never did I feel that, oh, that's my big sis, right? Anytime that I wanted to lay down with an older chick, when I was 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, it didn't matter. They was going. When I was 10 years old, my mother had a roommate. She was 25, 26. She used to strip in front of me like it was nothing. There was never a time when I was a little boy where a woman was like, you know what? That basically put me in my place, right? I was a predator to the predators. I would put myself in women's way. You're going to have to deal with me. You're going to have to feel me. And they was going. Now, is this an indictment of women at large? No. We all of us come here to this planet to figure something out. Everybody's thing is different. But we have to rise above our human nature. By nature, the female is not righteous. By nature, you have to do work. You're in a meat suit, love. You lie, you do everything the male does, right? And what happens is people get in the cult of gender. So now each gender start to convict the other gender and assign behaviors as if those behaviors you don't have yourself. You do, right? Men prey on women, women prey on children. We're all predators. You know what I'm saying? Women on the app call men predators, but the male is born from a female, right? The predators give birth to its kind. You know what I'm saying? So this is not an indictment on women. This is, you have to do the work too, you know, and be careful telling these men that they're not a prize. Then if they're not a prize, then why would they treat themselves any better? Why not get on drugs? Why not crash out in the street? Because they're not a prize. They don't have value. They have to earn their value. The female is the prize, not him, right? So she gets to sit and look pretty. Meanwhile, he got to go risk his life trying to prove his humanity, trying to prove himself. That's not cool. I know what it's like when someone doesn't tell me I'm the prize. I don't even know when I'm being abused. Be very careful with your language. Use the language to uplift, or your sons, nephews could be getting taken advantage of, and they'll think they deserve it, because if they're not a prize, then how can they ever be a victim?